This is Political Junkeez with Brian Howie.
Hi, everybody. It's Brian Howie. Welcome back to Political Junkeez, the podcast for those hooked on politics. I had some very broad topics I want to talk about today. So we're going to pull it back a little bit from our typical fights on the fringes that we have around here, Political Junkeez, because I have some questions that required some reasonable voices. So I brought in two reasonable voices. One, she is a podcast virgin, so she claims. I don't know what that means, but she's in here to offer some wisdom and some wise words on a whole lot of things. Sharon Cho, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
And my old friend, I have not had him in here yet. I don't know why our producer has not got him in here yet. We've been doing this podcast for about almost a year, and I'm like, you know who you need to get in here? He's a bon vivant. He's a man about town. He knows about finance. He's the best read person I know. The most well-read, is that the term for it?
I believe so.
Michael Sartain, how are you?
I appreciate it, man. This is a trip down memory lane.
Yeah, we're back. So I wanted to lead off with a question that brought up the other day. Somebody the other day was really passionate in their dislike of Joe Biden. And I said this, I said, how much is the president of this country, no matter who it is, pretty much a ceremonial figure with no real power whatsoever? And we took a deep dive on that. And I was like, how much can the president do? And the second question is, how much does the president know? Do you think the president has access to the UFO files, the Kennedy file? What do you think you're a military guy.
Yeah.
What is he getting?
All right, so yeah, I'm a former U.S. Air Force captain, and I used to do some counterintelligence work before I left the military. I will tell you that I don't believe that the president, if he wanted to, could have access. I'm not going to say UFOs, but the president would have access to absolutely everything we've ever done. But
right.
After a certain time, everything is supposed to be declassified.
Right.
I do think the president would have access to a lot of stuff. But it's not a function of, hey, because I'm the commander in chief, now I can automatically ad hoc ask the CIA director for everything. I don't know, because that's
nor does the CIA director, I think.
Correct.
That's they're an appointee too.
But it also depends on who the CIA director is. So, for instance, if you had somebody like Petraeus, who did, I mean, he's a former military commander, but if you have a former agent, former CIA agent, I think it would be different. George H.W. Bush was not a former CIA agent, so at least I'm not aware that he was. But
we may never know.
We may never know. I just feel like the CIA, I think the head of the CIA is a bit of an administrative post, and the guy who runs the clandestine section of the CIA, that's the guy who's going to know a lot of this dirt. And then a lot of it, I think, is just going to get lost in a file folder, just like old photos that you have from stuff that happened way before. There's missions that happened in World War II that would probably never know, that just got lost or left in a file closet. There was some sort of counterintelligence thing that they did. So it's impossible to say. Like, honestly,
so his morning briefing, he's getting I think redacted of the redacted of what he needs to know?
No. In real time, I think he gets everything. Are you talking about today, in June of 2021? Yes, yeah. I think the entire apparatus would be available to him. Other than there'd be a couple things. By the way, read some Clancy novels, because he gets this about as close to being right as anybody. It's going to be a situation where this person has sources. The president could ask for those sources, but he's not going to be told what those sources are. Right. So it's a function of. I believe his name is Bill Buckner, he was captured by Hezbollah back in like '85 in Beirut, and he ended up being tortured, and he gave up all these names of all these different agents that were in the Middle East at the time, and they had to pull all their agents because of it. And there's been several television shows, 24 and some other ones, I forget the one with Homeland, where they talk about the same thing. You have an agent that's captured, and all the information he knows, now you just assume they're going to torture it, get it out of him. So stuff like that, you might know that happened, but you're not going to know his name. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but so not to pile on Trump early on in this, but there's certain things I'm not trusting Trump with, knowing that he has a hair trigger on information and he wasn't going to. Is that built into the mechanism so that no matter who is in the office, there's always going to be some like, no, we cannot risk giving that, and nor do they want it. The president might want some distance from whatever you guys are doing to get that done or get the. I don't want to know about it. So
I would imagine that the National Security Advisor probably has some discretion as to what he's going to. I mean, you imagine the first 100 days you're president of the United States is probably a helmet fire. You're probably it's probably a water hose in your face. So much information that you have to learn, and, and everything becomes political, and then it just becomes. Okay, what happened in Roswell in 1947 just doesn't really mean that much to you anymore.
But can he ask? Can he ask for the Kennedy file?
I am certain that he can. But I'm also certain that the U.S. government's position is that Lee Harvey Oswald killed John F. Kennedy by himself. I'm not. Listen.
Okay.
I'm just say one thing. I could have made that shot. I've been up on that floor. I'm left-handed, and I could have hit John F. Kennedy with a football. Oliver Stone is making up nonsense.
Actually, I've been down there. I'm like, that doesn't seem that far away.
I could have hit that shot.
All right, let me get into the first part of this question, Sharon. How much do you feel let the president? How much power do you feel he has? Not just information. I'm going to come in, I'm going to do this. And how much is really just, I'm going to try and influence Congress and whatever the makeup of that. And they're pretty much powerless and ceremonial. And we just spend a lot of time and energy arguing about this because of our politics. And that's the guy out front.
I think the president does not have enough power, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not totally opposed to full monarchy myself. But
yeah. I mean, I haven't lived in Korea for a while, but I see the Korean news and I compare it to what's happening here. But
Korea has a president? Do they?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Well, I don't know if it's
Yes.
a king. I don't know.
Is it a three?
Thailand has parliament, but they also have a king. You know.
Yes. This is true. Yes, yes. So Korea does have a president. So I'm talking about the southern part.
Right. So am I. Yeah. Right. But I don't know. I mean, kingdom. But I don't know what.
not
they,
Mr. Kim.
I don't know what they have. I'm shocked at some of the countries that have kings that I didn't even know about.
Yes.
Well, or countries that have a legislature, like so. For instance, the UK doesn't have a president.
Correct.
They have a legislature that appoints the leader of the executive branch. So is that what they have in Korea, or do they have three branches?
Which is Israel's like that too.
Israel is correct. So you can have Ariel Sharon become the
Not to get into
president
Korean government here, but what does Korea have? Do we know?
Well, they have two branches.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And they do have a president. But I think, just going back to the question, I think the U.S. president does not have enough.
Yeah, I might agree with that. What if we take our shot? Like, listen, you have full run of the house here. So you don't have to really curry political favors. You don't have to play these games. Let's see what you can do. And we do it. We shorten the reign so they can't fuck up too long. But like, you got short of, some boundaries on it, but let's put in your agenda for a certain amount of time, run with it and see what you got. I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that, actually. I don't think it's a bad idea at all. I think there's too much influences around the president of the United States.
Yeah, I think I agree with you.
so.
What do you think? Do you think the president really is? I think no matter how much people screamed about Trump or they scream about Biden, 99% of existence for 99% of people is exactly the same.
Well, and it was also exactly the same 240 years ago when we wrote our Constitution, right? When John Jay and Hamilton write the Constitution. I'm sorry,
Hancock.
Not Hancock. Hancock did write it. Thomas Jefferson. When they write the Constitution 245 years ago, when they start writing the Federalist Papers first and then the U.S. Constitution, they do so to create a muckety-muck so that these three branches can fight each other, so that things go slow. The point, you have to think about it from a situation where they're dealing with a king who every day he wakes up and he has hemorrhoids and all of a sudden people die. And they wanted to get away from this. These things were happening too fast, right? And so they wanted to create a political system with a judicial branch, a legislative branch, and an executive branch that would always fight each other. And then so things would go slow. And it's frustrating when your side on the political aisle wants things to go faster, but then when you realize
it's a slow-moving battleship.
But we also have the oldest government in the entire world. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. The oldest standing government on the entire planet is the United States government from 1776. Every other government, when you think about what's happened in China or Russia, they've all been overthrown in the last 150 years. We're the only country that has not had that happen, and it's because of the stability, because we put three angry men in a room that can't really hurt each other, but can kind of...
Well, it's also, the overwhelming majority of things that affect people's lives are local school board, city, county,
but yet they don't
maybe
care.
state.
But you're right, but
people
don't care.
People
don't care.
get so worked up about things at the executive branch and further down, realizing that day-to-day life, really your local PTA probably has more effect on it than anything else. Yeah. And I think that you're right on that, Michael, that we intentionally built a huge mechanism that is slow to turn around so things could not go radically either way, and then leave it up to the states and how you want to figure that out. And people forget that all the time. They want the government to do this. They want, let's just waive all the student loans and let's give everybody health care and let's do that. not only is that not happening anytime soon, it's just not set up to deal with it that way. Last year, people wanted Trump to wave a wand and shut the country down or do a whole bunch of things. Even if he wanted to, it's just not set up that way.
Well, it's not. Yeah, it's not. And also, as the president, like you said before, I think he has just about the right amount of power, because when you think about it, he's still the most powerful person in the world. He is. He's got the nuclear button on the largest functioning arsenal in the entire world. And our U.S. military, and I'm not saying this, obviously I'm a little bit biased, but our U.S. we could probably take on every other military in the entire world by ourselves, just because we're the only country in the world that has stealth capability and a blue water navy. So because of that, I just feel like the level of power he already has is incredibly massive, especially when it deals with stuff outside the United States. The president of the United States he's our chief diplomat. He is the representative of the country. But inside the United States, he can't do things, for instance, committing troops to war. He has 100 days to do that before Congress has to vote on that. And then they have to commit money to whatever that is. And I like the fact that there are people that can say, hey, brother, slow down on whatever this thing you have to do. He has to curry favor from other individuals in order to get stuff done.
You brought up the military and our power. Can 12 guys with a laptop in another country even the playing field on that?
They can even the playing field. From an asymmetric standpoint, there are definitely things that could
because we are behind on that.
Correct. A dirty bomb in one of the countries here, or this ransomware attacks. Of course, that's what happens, and that's what happens when you have the biggest, strongest military in the world. Is that other people become creative, and they find other ways to get at us.
They could take down they could confuse our drones.
But they're already confusing us. That's what we're seeing on social media. Like you're seeing situations where outside actors are creating a situation where you have a Muslim protest and a MAGA protest, and they try to put them right across the street from each other, so these people start fighting.
Yeah,
we're already being confused. There are people like the number of people that I meet that believe that the Earth is flat, truly, genuinely have college degrees and believe that the Earth is flat.
I know
it's shocking to me. But the problem is, whenever you talk to them, they won't even consider that the Earth might be round. Stuff like that I see all the time, or just the misinformation about vaccines. I mean, are there side effects for vaccines? Absolutely. But people get that, like, for instance, the Pfizer vaccine does not have a live vaccine in it. And when you ask people about it, like, no, it changes your DNA. And I'm like, no, it changes your RNA. But like these little things where they get it just a little bit wrong and they get very angry about it. And we're already confused, Brian.
And the rest of the world, they're probably not going to take us on the military battlefield, but they're going to take us on by confusing our public and turning us against each other.
Right,
and that's a real thing. That's why I bring up, I
think it's happening today, every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
The rest of the world loves that we are fighting each other and turning on each other.
TMZ about USA.
Right, exactly. It really is. Well, that's why I brought up, a lot of people didn't like Reagan and both Bushes and Clinton and whatever, but it wasn't a day-to-day conversation.
Correct.
And part of that changed because we had a really polarizing person in office. And even before that, a lot of people were polarized against Obama for whatever reason they were. And then they were against Trump. But the rest of the world is feeding the fire on us to get riled up to the point where we can't get much done.
And it seems like the younger generation, they do not want to do their own research. So it's just truly just based off of what their uncle said, or, what social media said, or just like snippets of it.
Yeah.
And they take it and
they take it from where they want to take it.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. They don't check it as like, this is where my source.
Or they create it.
Yes.
I mean,
so nobody reads. I'm so sorry. Nobody reads these days. Nobody wants to read.
He reads.
Yeah. So that's my number one hobby is reading. And my second hobby is rescuing cats. So you guys are laughing, but I'm serious. So the thing is, going back to what I said, my iPhone right now is capable of 4K video at 60 frames a second and is capable of like 10x zoom. Okay. I can film anything in the real world that fits the narrative that I want to believe in. Now,
create your own movie.
Yeah, create my own movie, okay, to whatever I wanted to believe in. Now, in the case of things like George Floyd, it's an incredible, great thing that it happened. Remember, you're around my age. You remember what happened with Reginald Denny, and you remember what happened with Rodney King.
Yes.
So that kind of thing, that was just a once in a million thing where a guy had a camcorder, a big honking camcorder on his shoulder, and happened to be filming this man getting assaulted. And then we just didn't see a lot of it afterwards, not knowing that happened. So in that case, this helped. This is a great thing that happened, and that was where sort of the divisiveness. But now we're in a situation where every day, what I think is there's not more news, there's more cameras.
Yes.
There's more cameras, right? And so whatever your narrative is, you can film that narrative as much as you want, whether it be at the border, where it be police brutality, which, again, by the way, I do agree that the police, I grew up with African Americans in East Dallas. I'm aware of police brutality. The issue is, now because that happens, now we're in a situation where we can make anything we want. Now with deep fakes, Jesus Christ, man. And the way we're able to slow down videos, remember where they try to make Pelosi sound like she was drunk?
Right. Yep.
All these kind of things.
Right.
We're getting to a very dangerous point.
We are.
Exactly.
And put a face on somebody.
Have you seen the Face app?
Yes.
Have you guys used Face app before?
Yeah, you can
Oh
do
my
anything.
goodness. You can do anything these days.
Your wife could end up in porn. With
No,
like because
seriously.
of somebody takes a picture of her in a bar and puts it on that thing, and it's on the
I
internet.
can
unbelievable.
face to my face and I look so beautiful. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is amazing.
You are a beautiful woman. Stop
Thank you.
saying these
But
stuff.
no,
things.
but it is.
We're
but
going to use
it
your
is
face and all
actually-
sorts of things.
Yes.
But it is scary. I think they can take clips and make their own narrative.
Yeah.
And it's happening.
And that's the thing. And
And
we used to be able to fall back by, well, this country is strong in our democracy and we're stable and all these things. We're shaky in the eyes of the world, and sort of transition here into something that you know a lot about. It used to be that the dollar was something that we could tie ourselves to.
Yes.
Like the world respected it,
Right.
we know whatever, and now it's like, ooh, what's the value of that going to be down the road?
So it's interesting. So like, was it, I believe 74 when we came off the gold standard, or 72, I can't remember when Nixon took us off the gold standard. After that, there was a belief that the dollar was going to fluctuate massively, but it didn't happen because when it comes to fiat in the entire world, we still use the U.S. dollar. It doesn't matter if you're a Saudi a country from another place, and you know the currency controls that they do in China. They take our U.S. dollars and then they buy our debt with those same dollars, and then they use currency controls by giving yuan back to at a certain price, and that way they keep the middle class or the lower class. So we're still using the U.S. dollar for all these currency exchanges, and now cryptocurrency comes out, and it's supposed to do these things that are different, right? So one of the things is anonymity. Well, it turns out the anonymity thing isn't real. I don't know if you guys seen, but like if I can identify one single crypto exchange from you, I can, in that one Satoshi, I can track all the way back to 2009. I can track it all the way back to the end. So now the privacy thing isn't there before, right? And do you remember the thing where we're trying to get away from government regulation? Turns out that's not the case either. Now you have to pay taxes on cryptocurrency, like it's taxed as regular property. For those of you who don't know, who didn't realize you have to pay tax on your cryptocurrency. And then the other thing is the way the United States makes it so that you have to go through a registered brokerage like Coinbase or Gemini. And then when you do that, now the IRS knows that you're using crypto, and now it's tracked. And then here's the other thing: the volatility. We're supposed to use cryptocurrency as opposed to the U.S. dollar because we want some stability in this. Does it look stable to you?
No.
I mean, it was
Exactly.
60,000 like a couple months ago. It is
28,
33,000 or 28 or whatever it is, and it's insane. And here's the other problem that I have with the market. So I trade for a living. I work for. I'm a portfolio manager at a small fund, and I'm afraid I buy crypto for fun, but I can't see it as a profession until there's a liquid options market, and there won't be one until it's regulated. And so when there's a liquid options market, now we can take advantage of all the volatility in there. And once it's like that, then I'm very excited to trade cryptocurrency. The problem is that is antithetical to what the people who created cryptocurrency wanted. It becomes mainstream at that point.
Right. And is it too big an obstacle for the crypto world, the fact that China, they want to be able to fuck around with the dollar and do those things? They don't want any part of crypto.
Right. So
that's
India
too big a
and China.
chunk of the world's GDP or whatever for them to not be a part of it. And just like, it can never be what the crypto people want it to be unless the whole world.
Right.
Well,
the thing is, in the United States, we can get rid of our politicians, and in China, they cannot. So they don't.
Correct.
In the end, they don't really care that there are people living. There's no poverty line or whatever. But the situation, the reason why they do currency control is because they want to keep a poorer, lower end middle class that will continue to manufacture products for the rest of the world. They don't want what happened in India to happen, where the VAs become more and more wealthy, and then they don't want to be VAs anymore. So that's the situation that's happening in China. They don't care enough about their people, Brian, to stop this from happening. So if they don't participate in the crypto boom, it doesn't make any difference.
but they can also restrict companies that accept crypto or deal in crypto. They just be like, you can't. And China is such a powerful part of the global economy that it's still limited how far it can go.
I don't think it limits. There's just this is gonna sound crazy. There's just too many drug dealers. You know what I'm saying? And too many money launderers still left in the world. It's still going to be viable. I do think it's going to be mainstream, but the problem is, What people wanted was for this to be a go around the U.S. banking institution and a go around for the U.S. government. And what happened is you got so big so fast that the U.S. government's like, hey, wait a second, we're going to tax this, and now it's going to become an asset just like GME, just like GameStop, just like AMC, just like any other asset. It's going to be like that, and eventually it's going to end up being the sellout that you were hoping that it wasn't going to be.
Yeah, I mean the government wants anybody, they're gonna have hearings and they're going to put their place in it because a politician, the people want to see that he cares and is doing something, and even if they doesn't know anything about it, they're like, this is bad, I don't know anything about it, we got to tax this, we got to figure out a way in it, and all this regulation is going to scare people off, which is, again, it's the antithesis of what the point was.
Right.
The point was supposed to sort of be take it off the grid of politics influence and just have a pure system that the market would find itself. It's all over the place.
But at this point, I'm supposed to use it to send you money, but I'm not. I'm using what did Bank of America use? Zelle. Have you seen this?
Yes.
So Bank of America now has an instant transfer system to counteract cryptocurrency. The idea that there was going to be a cryptocurrency, like eventually, if there was going to be a cryptocurrency, it was going to take over the world. Unfortunately, I know people don't want to hear this. It was Amazon or Walmart or Bank of America that was going to come up with it because they were going to use their influence to get. Because eventually, watch, you'll see something like that is going to happen. It's one of these situations where you have a great idea and then Amazon comes around and buys your idea or makes a better version of it. That's the thing that I would be worried about.
Yeah, or somebody, is it Honduras or Nicaragua today, gave every citizen $30 worth of Bitcoin?
No,
something like that.
I believe
so
it.
So the people are like, what am I supposed to do with this?
They give them on a hard drive or something.
I know, like they're like, what are we doing with this? Like they can't cash it out. They can't go down to the local bodega and turn it in. I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. People want to believe that somebody is in charge. A lot of people want that. So for every person that is like, I don't want anybody in charge, I feel like people want to live their lives being told exactly what to do, how to do it, what's going to happen, because not having some sense of rule and stability over them freaks people out. Which is strange to me. I think like if you do the right thing and live the right life, you should be fine. People really want to be told, and big example of this was everything that went down last year. How many people just wanted to wait till somebody said the light is green and go and whatever. And I think that's not a rare occasion. I think we just don't pay much attention to it, where a lot of people are like, just tell me where to go and what to do it, because it's too much responsibility to put that on yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a spectrum. I mean, I know some people absolutely do not want to be told where to go,
and most of them live in Idaho.
Most of them live in Orange County.
Yeah, that's true.
But in Orange County, you wear a mask anywhere. They will shoot you when you walk in the door. Now I'm just messing with my friends from Orange County, but I mean, that's the difference. Like Texas and Orange County, they want to live a certain type of lifestyle, and the people in Boston and New York, they want to live a different type of lifestyle. And that's the great thing about this commonwealth of states that was.
I think we should stop trying to turn. If you want to live a certain way, you should be able to go.
You should be able to move to Louisiana. That's exactly right.
I think that's true too. But people who don't want if you live in New York, what do you care the way they live in Louisiana?
Right.
Like that's what I don't understand. Like you want everybody to live your way, and people in Louisiana, they're mad that people in New York don't live the way they do. The whole point and the whole way that they drew this thing up was you could sort of find your own way within reason,
Right.
And some people are like, all the people from Los Angeles don't like Los Angeles, so they're going to move to Nashville and hope Nashville turns into Los Angeles.
Well, they've already turned.
Austin. They turned Austin
into
into
Los Angeles,
which I don't understand that mindset at all. Like you're like, oh, this sucks. I don't want to pay taxes. Let's go here and raise the taxes. It's just insane.
Yeah, I lived in Austin for 9 years and I can't go back. I won't go back. There's no point in going back.
It's a different place, and
it's a Starbucks.
Nashville's the same way.
Yeah, the whole Austin, Texas is now just a giant Starbucks. Like before, you would walk up and it was a beautiful place that you could just go to South by Southwest. There was no wristbands. Nobody showed up in a private jet. You would just walk up and go to these concerts back in 1998. And now
weird. What is that thing? Keep Austin weird.
Keep Austin weird. Yeah. Austin is not weird. Austin is a Starbucks now.
Right. They're slow. It's a slogan. It's nothing more. It's It's a perception of weird. It's not weird.
And Mopac, which is the freeway on the left side, it's more packed than a mug because you can't go anywhere. It's a parking lot now because the city was not designed to have this many people live there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of places turning into versions of places where people
I hope it doesn't happen here.
left.
I hope it doesn't happen here.
It seems like it's happening here.
By the way,
So explain that. What do you think is happening here? We're in Vegas, by the way, if some of you don't know. What is happening here that you think, at least politically, what do you think? Because off the strip and get away from a little madness, Vegas has always been a fairly conservative city. There's a real religious undertone here. There's a big Mormon population here.
Yes.
Do you think that's changing?
It is changing. Just like you said earlier, it's almost like our neighboring state, Californians, are moving here because it's not a bad thing, but they don't like the traffic. They don't like the taxes. The cost of living is expensive. They're, you know what? Let's move to Vegas.
Well, let's talk about the fact it's a right to work state. You don't have to. You can be a model and sign with multiple agencies.
Yes.
You can be someone who works in the movie industry and you can work for a lower rate, but because it's non-union. And let's not even forget about pornography. The rules about pornography in the state of California are much, not the safety rules, but it's much more lax in the state of Nevada. So yeah, like you said before.
Which, say what you want about it, that is an industry that employs thousands
an industry
of people
that makes
in
billions of dollars.
Yes.
It is. But like back to what you said before, Nashville 20 years ago, Austin 20 years ago is Vegas today.
Yes.
And I don't want it to change because when I take my 16 friends out to a club and we just have a good time and we're partying and even like it's still authentic here. I know for some people it doesn't feel like that, but this is to me what Austin felt like in 99 is what Vegas feels like today. That's why I live here. That's why I love this place.
Right.
So I hope that doesn't change.
Right. I thought Vegas was never better than what it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was great. Dude, it was
I thought it was really like something for everyone. It was fun. It was vibrant. It looked great. Everything you want. The restaurants were never better. The retail was never better. The clubs, you had a little bit of everything. It shut down. And then it tried to tread water to its credit, keep itself alive. How optimistic are you that how long will it take to pick up where it was?
Not even 6 months. I've been out everywhere, and it's madness. I saw Tiesto last night at Resorts World. That is the sign. The drunk people at Encore Beach Club, the people trying to, the promoters asking me to get comps already set up. It's already happening. Now, is it going to be full on this summer? No. I was supposed to, the summer of 2020, I was supposed to host the largest bikini competition in the world over at Wet Republic, and it got canceled. We're not going to have one this year. It doesn't look like.
Another COVID tragedy.
Right, another COVID. To me, it's the biggest tragedy in the world. But next year we are going to have one. Next year we are going to have one. And we're starting to slowly get these things back together. Swimsuit USA is getting back together. There's a bunch of these things, but it's going to take to maybe the end of this year before the revenue gets generated enough to where we can get back into full swing. But when you walk around here, it's still it's a 4-hour wait to get a dinner reservation.
Yes.
Or
it is.
Yes.
It's every nightclub is sold out. Now the bottle minimums are a little lower, but I mean, I think within 6 months we're all the way back.
Yeah, I mean, the town had to tread water for 8 months with $20 hotel rooms at Caesars just to try and keep the lights on and to keep the hotel staff employed and to do
the
things.
wind went down to like $80-something.
I know it was nothing.
I was like, what?
Those are coming back up. The crowd's kind of changing to what it was, but when we did this podcast or an episode of this 4 months ago, I was like, I think it's going to be a long time to come back. I think I'm wrong on that. I think it's just turning on the spigot and it's go.
When we leave here, let's go to Sapphire. Let's go to the Rhino right after this. If you guys think that if you think Vegas is dead, let's go to Sapphire today.
Was there a point? Had you been to Sapphire while it was still kind of closed?
Yes.
Were they dancing in masks?
So
Yeah,
give us the insight.
Give us the insight.
Sapphire is a gentleman's club, so I've just heard third hand. I wouldn't have any first hand knowledge of this, but so when you go there, they were actually behind clear shower curtains.
No, they were not.
The girls were dancing in
Stop.
VIP behind clear shower curtains, and they weren't nude because they had to change the actual the way it was listed, so it was like a lounge or something else, so that they could stay open. And I believe they had to serve food so that they weren't considered a bar. So I forgot exactly all the rules that were there, but yes, you would go into VIP and girls would dance on the other side of a shower curtain for you. That's the way it worked at Sapphire for a while. Now it's all the way back now, but at the time that's
But were they masked?
Yes, when the girls walked around, they were masked.
Were they cute masks?
Some girls, if you go to Sapphire now, there's still a few girls that wear masks.
Oh.
They don't have to, but they still do.
So they were open then the whole time?
No, they weren't on the whole time.
Okay.
But I was because we've
Sort of
we've
open.
asked this question a few times. We didn't have Mr. Sartain's expertise to answer
they
this
were
question.
They were at 50% capacity for the most time. The pool reopened maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Lindsay Palis came back and did an appearance there. And so, yeah, it was about maybe, like I said, 50%. And then you did have to wear a mask. And now it's just gone. Man, here's the thing. It's funny. I don't know if you saw, I made this post the other day. This is going to sound crazy, but we need if you're a bartender, move to Vegas now. If you're a cocktail server, move to Vegas now. If you're a stripper, move to Vegas now.
Yeah.
Now, like seriously, man, we don't have enough Uber drivers. It's $75 to go across the street and it takes an hour to get anywhere.
Why are there not enough Uber drivers?
I've heard two ideas. One of them is that there is some sort of union thing or some sort of criminal element that is restricting the amount of Uber drivers. The other thing is that a lot of people just don't, like, they got comfortable with not working and they don't want to go back into this. And Uber's not really, from their standpoint, not really paying a fair wage. I think either one of these things could be true. I am shocked. Like, if you are, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I've traveled all over the country. Uber's a nightmare. It's a nightmare to get one at any price. Yes. You find LAX now, you just can't get an Uber.
So the funny thing is, I started taking taxis again. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely crazy.
I took a taxi again for the first time, and I don't know how long. Taxis are there, and the price is about where you're going to go to the taxi line.
You figure an establishment like that's 100 years old. The whole taxi service.
Yeah.
Eventually, they would, even though it would take a long time, eventually they would catch up and stop doing cash transactions and start using cards or something like that.
Those guys are working.
Yeah,
taxi guys are working.
I'm looking for the taxi first whenever. But man, if you're in McDonald Highlands or you're in Summerlin, good luck getting an Uber.
So there are there's jobs to be had. There's fun to be had.
If you're listening to this right now, I can't go to the Pepper Mill past 1 a.m. because they are not 24 hours anymore. And I asked the manager there, Mary, and she said, we don't have enough people to work. If you want a job as a server, a cocktail server, or you want to be a chef, a cook, whatever, move to Vegas now.
Yeah, I went to a unnamed dining establishment last night here in this town, and they had like a third of the menu they normally did because they just don't have the kitchen staff to handle different things. And they have turned off the free money valve here, right, in Nevada and locally. Like,
you're talking about unemployment.
I'm talking about unemployment. I'm talking about whatever.
I don't get that either. That makes no sense.
Because you're still not, most people blew it already, so it's not like you're sitting home getting more than you would. I read an article the other day where a lot of people are just like, I want to rethink my life and go back to doing that. But the people who are driving Uber, you figure they would want to go back and. The crowds are here, go drive Uber again. American Airlines this week, as we record this, had all the flights going, and they couldn't staff them because even their staff is not back. So they had to cancel 700 flights or something because they couldn't staff them even after they sold them.
Yeah. I mean, it's just madness. What if this pandemic is the thing that fully changes our economy from manufacturing to in intellectual property? You know, we go completely into technology. This may be the thing that eventually everyone goes, and like the complete transition, the end of the industrial revolution is now, right? We finally get to the point where it's a technological revolution, and the pandemic was the thing the catalyst that finally ended it. That could be it. I mean, it's just a theory, but like it does seem like a lot of people that I know that were nightclub hosts are now doing virtual whatever. Man, Zoom, like I do so many transactions over Zoom. I do 3-4 hour Zoom calls per week with my clients, and I'm just telling you, man, it's one of these things where you can run a business off Zoom. You can get to your...
You can, and it has changed people's personalities. People now have to be used to being on camera.
Yes.
It used to freak people out. Now everybody's been forced to. You're essentially, if you're in a work environment with 20 people on Zoom, you're performing. They're looking at you. You're in front of a crowd. You're public speaking. All of these things have really changed... People hear the sound of their own voice for the first time. A lot of things really push a lot of people out of their comfort zone. I think a lot of people now... That's their new comfort zone, and a lot of things are going to come out of that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was my comfort zone and your comfort zone before.
I know.
Before the pandemic. I cannot believe how... Man, I know guys who have started these businesses online. So I have a master's program that I coach. It's called the Men of Action program. And in the program, I describe for these guys how to create a sales funnel for whatever their product is. And we have guys, some guys are accountants, some guys are real estate agents, and some guys are just like, they're self-help coaches. And when we describe it, we use Telegram in order to collect all the leads. And then we send them to either a ClickFunnels squeeze page, or we put them on Zoom calls to show subject matter expertise. And these guys have more clients than they know what to do with. And the whole thing is like, I sleep in a bed and walk 40 feet away to my quote unquote studio. It's in my den. And I'm just like, the amount of opportunity that I have just using Zoom, or I did a call the other day with a Microsoft Teams or Skype or whatever. Now this economy has changed to where I don't have to leave my apartment for 4 or 5 days, man. It's crazy.
Yes.
You know, Postmates will bring me my food. By the way, Postmates and Uber Eats, that's not slowed down. People want to deliver food. People want to deliver food. My brother told me this.
But they have those drivers.
Because here's the thing. We smell bad, guys. We smell bad and we're drunk and we vomit in their back seat. But the food doesn't do shit. And so
Correct.
that people they would rather deliver food that doesn't talk back and doesn't give it 2 stars than deliver people. And so everybody's moving over to Uber Eats, man. Everybody's like, or to Postmates. I can get my money quick. I want to go downstairs and be like, hey, bro, can you give me a ride somewhere? Can you give me a ride somewhere after you give me this burger?
All right, in the interest of time, we haven't done this in a while, but I got you two on here, so I'm going to do this. Here's what we ask a lot of our guests here on Political Junkeez. Give me a conspiracy theory that most people dismiss as a conspiracy theory, but you're like, you know what, that one, I'm going to spend an extra second. I think that one I buy.
I mean, to me, here's the thing. I want to take this opportunity for people who just don't know. What happened in Topeka, Kansas in 1921 where they firebombed a black neighborhood, that's not a conspiracy theory. That really happened. If you don't know about what happened with the Tuskegee experiments, please look that up. That's not a conspiracy. They were giving African Americans syphilis, and they were not giving these people treatment. If you want to know about conspiracy theory, learn about what happened in Nicaragua in the 1980s when they were allowing cocaine to come into the United States, and the crack epidemic that happened in the early 90s. That was because of the U.S. government and the Iran-Contra affair. Learn about that. Before we get into the Earth being flat or us not landing on the moon in 1969, before you go down that path, please learn about the things that did happen. Learn about the fact that certain states fund their independent school districts through property taxes and keep poor people poor for the rest of their lives, generational wealth one time or another. Learn about redlining. Learn about these things first before. And by the way, for those of you who are hearing me, you might think I'm a political liberal. I am not. I am extremely moderate. I am not supporter of Trump or Bush. I'm sorry, Trump or Biden. I'm not a supporter. Well, I'm from Texas, so I'm maybe a little bit of supporter of Bush. But the issue is the thing I want you guys to learn is that one of the problems, Julian Assange. Do you remember when they asked him? They said, "Hey, after the WikiLeaks thing, they were talking about Bush planning 9/11 and all this kind of stuff." And he looked at he was listening to these people and was like, "Hey, look at all this shit I found that was real. Stop thinking that Hillary Clinton's eating babies. Seriously, there are real conspiracies that you guys could be fixing. Why are you worried about aliens and fucking like in Roswell? Man, come on, man. There's real conspiracies out there, guys. There's real things that you can change
They
today.
distract you with this stuff, so you don't focus on this stuff.
Guys, there are 70 million homeless animals in this country. That's a fucking conspiracy to me. Let's deal with these first before we start worrying about whether or not Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin lied about landing on the moon.
Homeless,
okay,
you mean animals?
Animals, man. There are 70.
Well, animals are supposed to be homeless.
No, I'm sorry. It's homeless. Cats and dogs. I'm sorry, brother.
They're supposed to be homeless.
I believe there's 70 million stray cats in this country, and that to me is a conspiracy. So to me, while I love this question, let's deal with the fact of the problems that are already existing right now, and let's fix those first, and then we can worry about whether or not they put fluoride in the water to control our brains.
That's a reasonable answer. All right, now we kick it to you, Sharon.
I don't think there's aliens.
Well, that doesn't have to be the one you choose, but
But
you know.
but I do choose that.
Okay, no aliens.
No, I don't think so.
That's very self-centered of us, don't they? We're the only ones.
It is. I think we are the only ones.
What? So you were a pilot?
Yeah, and I studied astrophysics.
Okay, so when they see when they see shit, the pilots mostly it's like they can't comprehend the speed something's going, and then they trick themselves into thinking it's something they don't know. What is that? Okay,
so. Let's use in deduction instead of induction. Okay, the nearest star system to Sol, which is our star, is it's 24 trillion miles away. So it's Proxima Centauri. So I studied astrophysics in college. So 24 trillion miles. I mean, that means at the speed of light, it would take 4.1 years to get there. So we can't even go 1% the speed of light because we're made of matter, and so we're extremely limited as far as velocity is concerned. So the idea that some form of intelligence came, because the likelihood is there is no life at Proxima Centauri. It's not even close. So you would have to have some faster than light travel, some extremely. What makes more sense to me is that we have discovered something here, or it's some kind of optical illusion. It could be a deep fake. I know that's very insulting to some people because these are military officers that are saying this, but I have a hard time believing that some sort of life form made it this far, unless they can absolutely go the speed of light, because if they can, then time will stop for them. Then possibly they could do it. But Other than that, I'm having a hard time believing that. By the way, there are aliens. Just so you guys know, there are life forms on other planets. This is not debatable. Read the Fermi paradox if you want to find out. There's just no possible way we're the only place that has life. It's so far away. It's like you have a friend who lives in Siberia. The likelihood that you're going to walk there. That's what it would be like. So no. There are
travel
other life
is
forms.
the issue.
The travel
There's
is
no connection.
Distance is the issue, and there is a cosmic speed limit, 300,000 kilometers per second, which is the speed of light. That's the fastest that any matter can travel. So because of that limitation and the fact that we live in a galaxy that's not that big and it's 100,000 light years deep, that makes it the travel thing just a little bit problematic for me to believe that it's alien life forms here.
Reasonable answer.
It is a reasonable answer, but I'd like to stick to.
Okay. How was this for your podcast, Virginia? Was this okay?
Yes,
This is
it's
fairly
fun.
painless, right? It's like we were at brunch and just shot the shit, and here we are.
It's fun.
Yeah, we're doing good here on Political Junkies. Do you have a podcast?
So I have I do Zoom calls 3 times a week, free Zoom calls, and they go Facebook Live.
Fuck that. Get a podcast.
Okay,
What's
you
wrong
know
with
what? I'm thinking you convinced me. So if you go to my Instagram, I put you in a Telegram group, and it's called the Men of Action Group, and it's a misnomer because there's a lot of females in there. Monday is for the ladies. So Monday I have a bunch of female
Ladies' night at the Men of Action.
Men of Action. So Monday I have a bunch of female influencers come on. It's called Influencer Monday, and we have just a bunch of ladies come on, and they lead the discussion. Now it's still mostly men on the call. Tuesday is my private call for my clients, and then Thursday it's generally the gentlemen, and we talk about photography, we talk about social networking, we talk about leadership. The stuff I learned in the U.S. military. We have sort of a book club. We talk about entrepreneurship, and we talk about mindset in those courses. And the calls are about 2.5 hours long. But we do that every week.
That should be a podcast, or you can find him at Sapphire. As far as us, as always, like, share, subscribe, and please review this podcast. Your reviews mean a lot in the podcasting ecosystem, and we will see you next time on Political Junkies.